Hi guys, so Ben Habib, who is a Brexiteer and a member of the Brexit Party, he's going to tell Rishi Sunak and Boris Johnson's government what they should do going forward when it comes to financial services. Now, we have to remember that Boris Johnson agreed a trade deal with the EU last year, and in this trade deal, it covered goods. And we're seeing how it's not working out very well. There are delays at the ports. British businesses are struggling to sell their goods into the EU. EU importers are deciding not to import from the UK, but to look for suppliers within the EU. And Northern Ireland and all of these things have demonstrated that Brexit was not really a good idea. But he's going to tell Rishi Sunak and Boris Johnson what they should do going forward when it comes to a trade deal on services, which the British government don't have at the moment.
Their aim is to steal our financial services, and our Bank of England and the government and Rishi Sunak need to move fast to address it. And the way to do it is not by cowering in a corner, timid, fearful of the hook or straight right that the EU might chuck at us. The way to deal with it is to get up, stand up, be counted, and punch them right back on the nose.
Okay. Are you advocating violence, Ben? Okay, so I never really understood this type of rhetoric. This is a negotiation you're going into. It's not a boxing match. It's not a case of, if Boris Johnson can get his way if he just bangs his fist on the table enough. I don't know what sort of negotiations Ben has been part of, but that's not how it works. Especially if you're dealing with an entity as big as the European Union, and an entity that has decades of experience when it comes to doing trade deals. The UK has very little experience. There are some people who have experience, but they're in limited supply. There are techniques that negotiators use, but it's not just a case of standing up or banging your fist on the table or punching someone in the nose. That's not how it works. Maybe he's been watching too many movies.
And it's easily done. Rishi Sunak needs to move away from that undertaking he gave to the EU. He needs to require all EU companies and financial services businesses operating in the UK to incorporate as companies, fully capitalised and fully subject to British financial regulatory authorities.
So basically what he's saying is that the EU should align to UK rules. Now you can ask them, but I don't think they're going to do that. You're not really in a position to demand that the EU instruct its companies to align with the UK rules. If you want to sell, but I still think Brexiteers like Ben are in this bubble, this imperial bubble maybe, where they still think that the Great Britain is an empire. The UK is an empire, that we rule the waves and we tell people what to do, and they are the ones that cower in the corner. Have you not seen over the last year how wrong you are? Boris Johnson did not bang his fist on the table and get the trade deal that he wanted. This trade deal regarding goods benefits more the EU than it does the UK. How do you think it would be any different if Boris Johnson goes back, or Rishi Sunak goes back and does another trade negotiation for services? Do you think it'll be better? Maybe if they bang their fist on the table another time, they'll get a better deal. This idea that the EU need to align with us is fantasy.
We also need to roll back the ridiculous EU directive that forces our financial institutions to treat each EU member state as if it's zero risk. It's patently obvious that Greece is not a zero risk country when it comes to lending. It's patently obvious that Greece is more risky than Germany, but we treat...
Well, I think he's right here, but I don't think that's how it works. No, look, I'm not an expert on financial services, so whatever I'm saying here may not be a valid criticism, but you treat the EU as a bloc. When it comes to risk, I don't think you do. I don't think it's a case of we look at Greece separately, because you're treating the entire European Union as one. You're not doing negotiations with Greece or with Germany, or you're not providing Greek services and German services. You're providing services to the bloc. That's what your agreement would be. But once again, I don't know, so maybe this criticism is not justified.
Treat them both as if there's zero risk. And what that means is that our financial services institutions are not putting aside capital for that risk. Our financial services institutions should be required to adequately recognise that risk, to make proper provisions. And the reason I say that is because the minute we make proper provisions, the cost of funding for the EU will go through the roof. If they won't recognise our financial institutions as being equivalent, we need to make sure, at the very least, that they pay a market price for loans from British companies and British banks.
But you can't demand that. Well, you can try and demand it, but they will just ignore it. They will say, okay, your financial services from your institutions and banks are too expensive. We'll just go with European ones instead. You're not in a position to make demands. You should actually be going in the opposite direction. You should be making it cheaper.
That's the second thing he has to do. But the third thing, and the most important thing that the Bank of England and Rishi Sunak need to do, is deregulate our financial services industry.
Is this guy insane? Is this guy literally insane? He's saying we need to deregulate our financial services. Where has he been over the last 12, 13 years? Does he not realize that because the financial services were deregulated, we had the bubble, the financial crisis? We saw the results of that, where there were subprime mortgages created, they were sold off to people who couldn't pay those bills, and the entire system collapsed. That's not the solution. The regulations are there to protect the economy, to protect even financial services themselves. Because what happens is when there are no regulations, these businesses run riot. They start selling off products and all types of derivatives and making a disaster. It creates a bubble, it's unstable, it collapses. And then what happens is the taxpayer, the state, us, we have to come along and we have to pick up the pieces. We have to bail them out. We've seen that happen before. And there were many stories about CEOs and directors of companies who had run their companies into the ground, who had taken these risks, they had failed, and they were given money to leave. They were taken over by the state, and these ex-directors were handed millions of pounds, millions of euros, millions of dollars in order to leave. Think about that. Think about that. Anyone who's listening to this, imagine you messed up so much in your job. Can you think of a situation where the company would pay you money to leave? But if you're running a financial institution and you mess up, and many people lose their jobs and many people lose their savings and their pensions, don't worry, you'll be given money by the state to leave. This is what Ben wants to create once again.
The EU loves regulation. Let them indulge in that love affair. Let them regulate their own institutions to hell. But for goodness sake, we're already suffering greatly as a result of the pandemic. Our institutions need to be set free. Deregulate.
Deregulate. Yes, just let's create more bubbles. We need more bubbles. We need more bubbles to burst, and then we need somebody to make money while the bubble is inflating. And then when it bursts, well, don't worry, the taxpayer will come along and bail us out. That's what Ben wants. The regulations are to put controls on that, to stop these things happening. And he wants to strip them away. This is his solution to a post-Brexit financial disaster. Just deregulate. Let these companies do whatever the hell they want, so we can have more bubbles and more unemployment. Let me know in the comments section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?